Welcome to today's Consulting Insight. This Consulting Insight is a little different than I've done in the past because I want to respond to a question I'm frequently asked by solo independent consultants. And that question is, when should I hire my first employee? I thought instead of me creating a video that discusses it, I would reach out to somebody that I respect and I know who works with virtual assistants. She has her own business. It's a cultural talent management platform. And her name is Elizabeth Eiss. Elizabeth Eiss is the founder, CEO of ResultsResourcing. And Results Resourcing curates contract talent to help organizations scale professional freelancers and fractional teams. She takes the time to work with her clients so that she matches freelancers with the client's specific needs. So let me open this up and ask Elizabeth to introduce herself. And let me ask her this question first. Is there anything I missed about your background that you think I should mention?
Um, I think we're good. I would like to mention the fact that, I have a lot of experience hiring freelancers myself. And so maybe what I can do to kick this off is kind of just give some background about how I got into this.
Go
And
for it.
yeah. Would you like me to start?
Go ahead, start.
Oh,
We're going to
thanks.
keep this very informal. So people who are listening to this, and know I have very set things at times. This is going to be, as I said, a little different. Go ahead,
Okay,
Elizabeth.
no problem. Well, Laura, thank you so much for inviting me to this conversation today. And, I think the best place to start is maybe why I focus on providing virtual assistants today. And it was really because I was hiring virtual assistants and other contract talents for myself. And I was trying to answer the question, how do I get more done when it's just me? And really the solution I ended on was to hire a virtual assistant. And in the beginning, I went to all these different technology platforms out there that are, on publicly traded companies today, like Upwork. And there's great people on Upwork, but the process of finding that right virtual assistant was hard. And so basically, I decided to form my own business, Results Resourcing. And what we do is we are a technology platform, but we insert the human into the process. So you can actually talk to a human being versus other platforms where you're just talking to technology. And so that helps us understand really what your needs are. And then we find that curate and match you with the freelance talent that is best suited for the work you need done. And what we found over the years was that for most solopreneurs, or even small consulting companies, the first stop really should be a virtual assistant. And not only a virtual assistant, but probably a virtual assistant's team. So a small group of people who are also entrepreneurs that run basically a small agency that provides virtual assistant services. And I really migrated to that solution because what a lot of solopreneurs come back to me for is they have this range of needs. And maybe they need to start small, but does that individual freelancer meet all the current and future needs? Probably not, because one person can't be good at everything. And the other thing is one person gets tapped out. At some point, they have 40 or 50 hours a week. They probably have more than one client. And so really you have a scalability issue with an individual. So I migrated to really matching people with virtual assistant teams because they're highly scalable. You start with 2 hours and move up to 10, 15, whatever it is you need, but you don't have to make a commitment, up front. And really they can provide a wide range of skills because what you need today is probably not what you need tomorrow as your business grows and scales.
And I can appreciate that because I've been in the situation where I need a virtual assistant to help me with the newsletter, get the newsletter out. But over time, that expands.
Yes.
And now I'm looking for another virtual assistant. So what I hear you telling me is your approach is let me start small. If all you need is that person to help you with it, get that newsletter out. I get it. I understand. but you're there to help back them up when they need to grow to that next level and they need somebody else to do. Maybe it's video editing
Yes,
or maybe it's bookkeeping. Am I on
exactly.
track?
Yeah, and it can all, and the beauty of the team is you don't have to go do another search. You don't have to onboard another freelancer. You've got a team of people that's already acquainted with your business. There might have been a lead person that worked on you on your newsletter, for example, and that knowledge gets passed to other team members. So it's really more efficient too, because that was a complaint I heard a lot from the clients we served is, oh, I got my newsletter out. Now I have to do another search for another freelancer, that was more money, more time, and they had to start over with a new person. So really the benefit of the team is it becomes your outsourced back room, your back office. And they really get to know your business and can be your partner. It's not so much, in fact, most of the freelance work on our platform is not project oriented. It's ongoing. So and we have people that have been working with the same freelance team, really just part of that solopreneur's business now. It's just outsourced as opposed to hiring someone, which is a huge cost and deliberation.
Right. And many times, and I know you've dealt with this, I've dealt with this, as a solopreneur, you don't need somebody full-time
You know,
for some of the things. I don't need a full-time bookkeeper.
yeah.
Most people don't if they're solopreneurs, but you need somebody who can help.
Yeah, and somebody that you're confident in their abilities. And as I think I mentioned in some of our earliest conversations, what people kept coming back to me was competent, reliable, nice, and right now. And that's really the service we ended up building. That with we work with pre-vetted US and Canadian freelance teams. And the reason we do that as opposed to offshore is there are smart people everywhere in the world, and there's people that speak and write English well everywhere in the world. But the beauty of a US or Canadian freelancer is they grow up here. They understand the culture. They know how business is done because actually their business is doing business in these countries. Yeah, because I wouldn't be particularly effective in another country because I didn't grow up there, even if I spoke the language well. So there's an advantage to hiring people that understand your culture and the business practices, in a given country. So that's another thing that's unique about what we do is really focusing on that kind of knowledgeable talent that goes beyond the basic rote work or routine work, but can think, offer critical thinking, works across clients, across industries, so can often add insights, a problem solver, a doer, and also somebody that's more self-sufficient. And you don't need to manage them as closely. I mean, it's important to manage whatever work you're doing with an outsourced provider, but because they're as knowledgeable as they are, they can really add value in a way that someone that's just very task oriented is probably not going to do.
My understanding from our conversations is that the people that you have on your teams are solo or they are consultants, contractors, freelancers themselves. So they're not your employees. They are also accustomed to, and they understand the world of freelancing, being your own independent boss. I
Absolutely.
write.
Oh, yes. In fact, they really are professional service providers. It's just the professional service they provide. Someone might be a fractional COO or a fractional speaking coach or whatever it is, that's a specialty. Their specialty is virtual assistants. And in fact, I often say that the stuff you don't want to do, the back office to you is the stuff they love to do and they're expert at it. So you're really tapping into resources that love to support you and are really good at it, particularly from a technology standpoint. So much appears to be do-it-yourself today, but really to get optimum results of technology tools, whether it's a CRM or some of the AI tools today, if you're not really knowledgeable about how they work, or ads, or SEO, all those kinds of things, requires expertise and keeping up with what's happening with these tools. And
Keeping
that's
up
virtual assistants do that.
Keeping up with the tools is tough.
Yeah.
I pulled a tool up yesterday and I grumbled because it's one of my primary tools and I knew they were doing an update. I had all the emails saying, we will be down, we will be doing this major update, we'll be doing this. And I was like, wait a minute, they've moved things around.
Yeah, it's
All I
disruptive.
want to do is find one thing. And I think spent 20 minutes looking for that one thing.
Yeah.
And even if I had a virtual assistant using that tool, I would still have, but it's that frustration.
Well, they're going to cut to the chase on a lot of things because their job is to keep up on various commonly used technology platforms. The algorithms change all the time, and they're just more current on that stuff. So at a minimum, they'd be able to help you find something faster because they're used to working with the changes of these tools.
One other question I get asked when I bring up that the first person I would hire is a virtual assistant, and I am pretty clear that that's my opinion.
Yeah.
I will be asked, well, what should I ask for? And my comment tends to go along the lines, well, what are you looking for? But could you elaborate a little bit as to if somebody picked up the phone and called you or they contacted you via an email, what type of information would you be asking them to articulate to you? What would you want to know from them so that you could provide them the best services?
Yeah, that's a great question. And first of all, what we do is encourage people to sign up for a free consult, because in a conversation we learn about each other, and I don't necessarily expect people to know, because many times they're not sure what skills and tasks are needed to accomplish a certain backroom function. And so in a conversation, I'm able to really reverse engineer, basically, here's what they're asking for, here's the things they need. So that's one way, is a conversation is really helpful. And honestly, when I first built the results resourcing technology platform, I actually included a survey that walked people through the thought process. But what I actually found is that really smart people didn't want to take the survey. Either they felt it was going to take too much time, or in asking people who didn't take the survey, they would say, well, I thought I'd leave something out, or I didn't want to appear stupid. I mean, there was just resistance to committing to answers in a survey. So that's, again, led us to these human conversations. But the advice that I generally give people, in talks that I do, as well as in these individual conversations, is what I just call is the 80-20 rule. The 20% of your time is spent on the most important part of your business, which is delivering client value, whatever it is to you. And unfortunately, 80% is running your business, because there's all kinds of things that need to happen, whether it's lead generation work or bookkeeping, invoicing, all the back end stuff. It's the core work versus the non-core work of the company. In fact, I read an article by Seth Godin the other day, and he said the differentiated work, which is the 20% of value delivery, versus the undifferentiated work, which is the back room that your client doesn't pay for. It's a cost. And so the first thing I do is talk through with the client about what is core and what's non-core. In fact, we've even built a little online tool that takes like 3 minutes to do. And it basically asks the question, well, it starts with, what's your hourly rate? Or what's an hour of your time worth? And nobody ever says $10. I think the average is probably 170, something like that. And then it says, how many hours a week do you work? And then basically, what's your value proposition? What value are you delivering to your clients, to the market? And then it's how many hours a week. If you work 60 hours a week, how many of those hours do you really dedicate to client work, that kind of thing. And you click a button, and it basically creates an analysis that says, oh, okay, this is approximately amount of time you're investing in your work, because it's just taking your hourly rate times the total hours you work. And this percentage is really spent delivering your core value. And then it's just asking questions like, how much time do you spend invoicing, writing blogs, doing social media, copywriting, recruiting. I mean, any kind of things like that, that's the back room. And the net result of the survey of all the people that have ever taken it is that 57% of entrepreneurs' time is spent on the back room. And to me, the opportunity cost is they're not doing what they love and they're not doing what they're best at. So if you could move even some of those hours, those non-core work hours, to someone that loves to do that work, that's a beautiful thing. And so really the conversation boils down to what is it that you love and that you want to do to deliver to your clients, and what are the other tasks? And sometimes it's as simple as just start listing the stuff that you hate to do and start there. You don't have to have mapped out every single thing. You can start with the things that are the most intrusive, and just start there and then expand as you go.
So a simple exercise might be the one that you mentioned, that you have the quick survey, but a simple one, even if they don't take the survey, is take a piece of paper and put on one side, here are the things that are bringing me money.
Yep.
Here are the things that are costing me money.
Yeah, exactly.
And go from there as a
Yeah.
starting point, because that's going to tell you if you have things that are in that right column that are costing you money because you're not out creating new clients or working with clients, that's maybe where you want to start.
Exactly. And it brings up the next question people ask is, well, I don't want to pay for it. But that's because they're thinking about, whatever they're going to pay a virtual assistant to help them. But they're not really thinking about that differential. So even if they pay a freelancer or whatever, it's less than that 170 average. So, even though they're paying for the help, it's freeing them up to A, do what they love, but B, earn more for each hour they spend. And that really, if you take that leap of faith, because initially it is a bit of a leap of faith, because you've got to be confident you convert those hours into revenue generating hours. But if you take that leap of faith and suddenly you have a freelance partner that you trust that can help you add value, it's a magical thing, and it more than pays for itself.
Oh, you don't have to convince me. I'm a firm believer. And you have to be careful as to what you want to answer. Somebody said to me, well, I can take over your writing. I'm like, no, that's one thing that stays with me because that's my voice.
Yeah.
So even it takes time, but there's no reason why once you're done the writing, somebody can do the copywriting, editing rather, and somebody could take and move it to a platform and set it up so that it goes out. I said, that stuff you can offload.
Oh, for sure.
For me, personally. But you have to figure out personally what you want to keep too.
Exactly. Because some people aren't writers.
They're not.
And so that doesn't mean that you can't hire a good freelance copywriter. Or honestly, with all the AI tools out there, more and more people are using AI tools to make a first draft, which I think is a superb solution. It's using technology to feed into technology. Here's what I want to talk about. Give me a base article to work with. Then you add your voice. And so for someone that's not a natural writer, that would be staring at a piece of digital paper, that's a great way to start. And freelancers do it too. But then they're taking that core information, they're fact checking it, which is obviously very important. And then they're basically tailoring that work to reflect their client's voice. And so it's a way for, as I like to say, you need something that you don't know how to do. I guarantee you there's a freelancer that can do it for you and will love doing it. It's just a matter of finding the right ones.
Okay. Let me recap a couple of things I heard. The one is no solo consultant should expect one virtual assistant to be able to do everything.
Correct.
And that the right way to outsource some of your back office operations is start thinking about that team that you want to put together to help you with the back office operations. Whether it's that bookkeeper, that copywriter, that person that helps with email, videos, whatever it is, you need to change the way you think about virtual assistants, because I've had some people say to me they were frustrated with the virtual assistant they hired And when we spoke and dove down into the reasons why they were frustrated, came back to they were expecting that one person to do everything. That's not realistic.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I heard from you. Another is think about the 80-20 rule, core versus non-core. Because if you start thinking that way, you'll start thinking about, I'm spending time with clients, getting clients, creating clients, whatever you want to say, and I'll make more money doing that. And that more money will enable me to hire as many virtual assistants as I need. Is that realistic to say?
Yeah, no, it really is. That is absolutely correct. And I would say that the only thing I would say is that if someone has the ability to put their own team together, great. But recruiting talent is non-core work. Your client is not going to pay you to put your talent ecosystem together. So
And you
you
know
want to
what?
look for efficient ways to do that. And, obviously I'm one of those solutions because I believe in this so wholeheartedly, but there may be others out there.
That leads, Elizabeth, that leads me right into the question I wanted to ask is, so you really moved right in. That's great. And that ties to one of the comments that you made that as you were building your business, you found that people want competent freelancers, reliable freelancers, and you want them right now. So explain a little bit about results resourcing and that the teams that you've put together and how you get the people and why you and there are other people out there that do what you do, but why you might be that right person to help somebody who's a solo consultant reach out to for that free consultation to think about, hey, how do I start offloading some of this work?
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, I'm a very purposeful person. And so I often say my purpose is to empower the purpose of others. And so, I, in my corporate life, wore all the hats. So I've got a really broad background in operations and joined my first startup 23 years ago. And I've been in the entrepreneurship space ever since. And so my own hiring of freelancers has really colored how I approach it, for clients as well. And, at the end of the day, it goes back to that competent, reliable, nice, and now idea. And while my first technology platform was built, and it still exists, our ability to deliver individual freelance matches, because of that competent, reliable, nice, and now mandate that I took on, I had to shift my thinking. One, I needed to move away from individual freelancers. Well, high quality aren't scalable and can't do everything. Teams can. Teams are scalable. You need to start with 5 hours a week and then jump to 20 and then back to 2 or 3. They can do that. It's really flexible. And we don't require any minimum commitments. Like there are many freelance services that require packages of 20, 30, 40 hours a month.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's not part of we don't do that. And the second piece of it really was to deliver now, I had to pre-qualify people. So I had to have in my head a sense of what are the common tasks that a virtual assistant needs to do, or a contract project manager, or a social media marketing support person, or an executive assistant, a bookkeeper. These are all roles that we offer in a team structure. And so what I did is I went back to the freelancers that I had enjoyed working with the most, that really performed the best. And lo and behold, they tended not to be just one person. They tended to have a small ecosystem of talent that they always worked with. And so I really started to forge kind of symbiotic relationships with these teams. And so now, I mean, I'm not a managed service provider. I mean, I've just collaborated with teams that I trust and I offer value to them. I help them be more successful because I'm basically doing business development, client screening. I bring them a client that I think that I've outlined who the client is, their needs, and I've matched them because I've have that interaction with a client, I take all this work off their plate. I hand them a client that they're just going to deliver their magic, to that client. And so it's really that pre-vetted team that we've already agreed on the roles, the work that's incorporated in the role, the rate. It's all set, so they can be up and running for a client within 24 to 48 hours. So that kind of answers the now part,
Yeah, that's great. Well, let me ask you two questions. The first question, is there anything you think I've missed before I ask you my very last question?
I don't think so. I mean, it's been a really kind of open exchange. So I was able to, express a lot of really interesting ideas. And well, I guess I'll add one thing that hasn't really come up, and that's digital virtual assistants. I talked a little bit about AI and the use of AI for copywriting. But I think that if you do a search, whether it's using AI or just a browser for virtual assistants, what's going to come up actually is digital virtual assistants, not human. And it's led by, Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon. Because if you think about Siri or Alexa, those are digital virtual assistant tools. You may use them to turn your lights on and off, but the capacity for them to do work for you based on whatever knowledge they've been trained on, is there. And so I actually see digital assistants and human assistants as working well together, because at some point, digital assistants, they tap out, they can't do anymore. And they're certainly not going to be critical thinkers, thought partners, hold you accountable, think of the things you didn't think to ask. And that's where the human comes in. And so I personally am an advocate of digital tools. It's efficient and it helps you things that can really help you grow your business. But at the end of the day, it's a human plus the digital that I think really offers great value, and probably is true in terms of individual professional services practices as well.
I use digital assistants for research. But you hit upon a point. They can only pull information that's within their grasp.
Yeah.
They don't have everything. They're not critical thinkers. They don't know how to necessarily analyze that data. And that's where you need the person to help you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm glad you asked me for one more thought, because I think that's an important one.
Okay. Now, my final question for you is, what is one piece of advice you would give to any solo independent consultant?
Well, that's a really easy one for me to answer. And I'm going to answer it in the negative first, which is stop trying to do it all yourself. DIY is not the answer. The positive, version of that is hire a virtual assistant, even if it is one person that can't do it all. Just know that that person can't do it all, and you may need to do more later. And really not to be afraid of the cost of that. That have faith in whatever it is that you want to do in the world, and that by focusing on that is going to bring you the clients that will help you pay for that virtual assistant. And frankly, it's going to free you up to do what you love and create time for you, which is always in short supply. So I'm a big proponent of hiring someone to help you with the back room, so you can focus on doing what you love and really offering the value you want that's inspired you to launch your business.
Okay. Well, thank you, Elizabeth. I'm going to wrap this up at this point, but I will add Elizabeth's information down below in the description area. Please feel free to reach out to her. Please connect with her on LinkedIn. And as I said, please feel free to connect with her on LinkedIn, and don't hesitate to reach out if you have a question about virtual assistants. Reach out to her. As she mentioned, if you decide you want a virtual assistant, set up a time and she will walk through a series of questions that she has. She knows what questions to ask. She will dive down and help you figure out what makes sense for you. My only comment to you is use her time wisely. So if you can sit back and think about what tasks are helping you make money and which tasks are tasks that need to get done to keep your lights on from an operational perspective, if you could separate them, it might make the conversation with her flow a little easier. And at that, agree with that? At that, take care and thank you for your time. Bye.
Thank you.